We call it a table. That's a conventional word, but it's not a table. And if I told him I was interested in Christian esotericism, he said, that's a tiger chasing its tail. And he was absolutely right. But if you enjoy running in circles, it can be really a lovely way to spend your time, which for a long time, for 20 years while I was studying Steiner, I was trying to understand within that context. And after a while, I realized he is appropriating, in a way, Buddhism away from the core teachings. It took me a while to realize that there's a problem with that approach, because if consciousness has evolved, that means that Buddhists have evolved. And if we're talking to Buddhists who are working within the tradition today, they're not working with the dead tradition. The tradition is very much alive. So I began to study Jungian psychology, and he wrote a little bit on Zen Buddhism. He was always looking for a way to make a bridge to his own experience as a Christian, as somebody who was raised within a Christian milieu. I don't think he considered himself Christian in a traditional sense. At the same time, living in New York City, there was a Chan teacher who was on public access cable. His program would go on at like 2 o'clock in the morning, overnight, Friday to Saturday, and I would stay up every night just to watch. So week after week after week, and they were beautiful. His teachings were more ethical. They weren't mystical in any way. It was really a way of using Chan Buddhism as a core ethical approach to life, which was something that I felt it's important. I traveled across the country, went for a training, and I didn't make it through the entire training. And I was thinking that I would stay there. I really wanted to stay in a monastery, in a monastic situation. Thought I had a vocation, just was very difficult for me. Oh, and one thing that I left out, there was a Buddhist nun who came and did lay initiation with us. I took the Bodhisattva vow, and I've taken 2 vows in my life that I hold as sacrosanct, and I am woefully underqualified to be anything like a Bodhisattva, and sometimes I wonder what I got myself into, but I have never forgotten taking the vow and how essential it's been in my life. Of course, I have to kind of heal myself of my own ignorance before I can help others. I consider that to have been a seminal moment in my life. And then I met you. I had this really remarkable experience, I think around 9. I was driving back with my family. Everybody in the car was asleep. My father was driving. He didn't say anything. The radio wasn't on. He just turned the engine off. He unbuckled his seatbelt. He unlocked his door. He opened the door. He closed the door. He walked to get the attendant. At that time, attendants would fill the gas in the car. I heard 2 sets of footsteps coming back. There was a movement in the car as they opened the gas cap, and I could hear the gas coming through. I could hear the ching, ching, ching of the gas, the old style gas machine that used to make noise when it was pouring gas. It took me a while to realize that all of this happened in complete silence. Nothing was spoken, but there was nothing being spoken in my head. There was just the awareness that this was transpiring, this extraordinary feeling of warmth that I associate with love. Not love that has an object, not love as desire, but just this feeling of my heart filling the entirety of my body. It lasted for years. And then my mind started getting really active. I didn't have a very strong intellect. I wasn't a good thinker. So I decided I would work on that. And I've spent my whole life working on that. But the older I get, the more I realize that initial experience, that 9-year-old experience, was it. That was it. Everything is Buddha nature. To understand that it's everything. There was a nun, I don't know how this came up, but she said to me, our suffering is directly proportional to our inability to accept what is at any given moment. When I accept what is, really be in the moment, everything is there. And if you put your attention on it, then you realize, can you do that? Can you observe yourself working or observe yourself observing? Can you achieve a certain degree of distance so that when you're engaged in an activity, you can be completely that activity?